You're listening to the Catholic Wives Desiring Peace podcast. Today's episode is titled, Why Toxic People Love to Target Faithful Catholics. Are you a Catholic wife grappling with challenging in-laws? The Catholic Wives Desiring Peace podcast is your sanctuary for navigating these sometimes stormy seas of life with toxic in-laws, while being validated for what you've experienced. Join me, your host, Miriam Susan, a Catholic wife who's weathered nearly 3 decades of in-law drama, as we tackle the tough issues you're dealing with head on. Hello, welcome to today's episode. I want to begin by acknowledging the fact that many of us struggle with difficult or even toxic family relationships, whether it's within our own families or our extended families. And I wanted to ask you this question. Have you ever wondered why it seems like toxic people are drawn to those who have a strong faith? Well, today we're going to be exploring why faithful Catholics sometimes become targets of these toxic people. Our scripture reference for today comes from the Gospel according to St. Matthew, chapter 10, verse 16, and this is from the New Revised Standard Version, Catholic Edition. Behold, I am sending you like sheep in the midst of wolves. So be shrewd as serpents and simple as doves. I don't know about you, but that scripture has been kind of a sense, I don't know if comfort is the right word for it, but something that I could very much relate to for many, many years, because I did for so long feel like I was a sheep in the midst of wolves who were ready to attack me and tear me to shreds at any moment. So let's dive into this topic and go over 4 reasons that I believe toxic people target faithful Catholics and faithful Christians. The first reason I want to talk about is because they know that we won't lie or retaliate. They know that because of our faith, they're not going to get back the same kind of garbage that they dish out. Toxic people love to exploit the fact that as Catholics and who are practicing Catholics, we have a strong commitment to uphold the 10 Commandments. As in, we are not going to bear false witness. We are going to be honest. We are going to be truthful and perhaps even turn the other cheek. The example that I want to give to you is one that happened so many times that it's actually ridiculous. But there were so many times that my mother-in-law would share maybe a half truth, or maybe she would just share a blatant lie. And there might be a very tiny element of truth to it in order that she could spread this slanderous gossip and get people to believe her. And the truth part of it was just enough to make her lies believable. Now, one of the things that she did, it was very clever, but totally false. There was an event that I went to. It was a Christian homeschooling entrepreneurial conference. Can't really get much more wholesome than that. And I went to this conference, and my 2 sisters-in-law came with me. Something happened, and my mother-in-law could not attend. I believe there was something to do with her mom. And so she stayed back to take care of her mom while the girls came with me to this conference. And one of the perks of going to a conference like this is that you have the opportunity to get to know some of the speakers. And if you've ever been to any kind of conference before, the reason people are speakers is because they have something valuable to share, right? And so I seized the opportunity to ask one of the speakers to join us for dinner one night. And in the hotel that we were staying at, the restaurant that everybody went to was an Applebee's. And an Applebee's has a bar. Yeah, shocker. So we went and we had dinner at Applebee's with this young man who was, probably like 10, 15 years younger than me. I had my sisters-in-law with me. It was totally above board. Like he was, perfect gentleman. We did nothing wrong. We just sat down, ate dinner, got to know this guy, and that was it. But for some reason, my mother-in-law decided that she was going to tell everybody that I went to a bar at this conference and tried to pick up men. Now, you see, there was an element of truth in that lie that she tried to spread about me. Yes, I did go to a bar, but I didn't sit at the bar because it wasn't Applebee's. I sat at a regular booth in the Applebee's. Did the Applebee's have a bar? Did they sell liquor? Yes. But that's not where I was. I was sitting at a table with my sisters-in-law. I never spent a moment alone with this young man, and I wasn't picking up guys, period. But because she knows that I will not retaliate, she got away, in a sense, with this way to gossip about me. So these toxic people love to take the values that we have in our faith and twist them all up. So some of their favorite things to pick on are honor thy father and mother. Yes, I've had many episodes where I've talked about that before, so I'm not going to rehash it here. But basically, they love to take that scripture and use it to hurt you. So when these toxic people use the actual words from scripture to twist them and try to hurt us, it inevitably creates this internal conflict that we have where we feel like we need to defend ourselves, but we also want to stay true to our values. We don't want to gossip because of somebody gossiping about us. We don't want to slander because somebody else slandered us. So it gets so messed up because these toxic people know how to exploit our virtues of wanting to be truthful, of wanting to be honest against us. Now, another reason that toxic people just love to target faithful Catholics is that they, again, twist scripture to make our boundaries seem unchristian. Toxic people love to weaponize our faith against us by suggesting that our boundaries are not loving, but they are selfish. For example, going back to the tried and true verse from the Ten Commandments, honor your father and mother, when our in-laws say that, they use it to try to guilt us into endless and unquestioning compliance with whatever they want us to do. They twist concepts like obedience and submission to serve their needs and their seemingly unending desire for control. And then this causes confusion in us, right? Because we're thinking to ourselves, am I being a bad Catholic if I say no to what my in-laws want to do? Am I not honoring them as my husband's parents if I don't go along with the simple things that they want me to do? Even if it is a super simple thing, we are not called to obey our husband's parents. Once we become emancipated adults, we are not called and told and forced, demanded to obey our parents. The reality is that healthy boundaries actually honor what God intends for our families. Healthy boundaries are a display of love towards ourselves, but also towards our family and to our toxic in-laws. Boundaries help us prevent a near occasion of sin for our in-laws who can do, and often will, do toxic or abusive things towards us. Now, the third reason that I think toxic people target Catholics is because they see our patience as a weakness. So Catholic virtues like patience and forgiveness and mercy are often and readily abused by highly toxic people. I feel like a lot of our in-laws think, well, she'll eventually give in if I keep pushing because she always forgives. She'll eventually do what I want her to do because of her patience. She'll eventually give in to our demands because she sees it as being merciful, or whatever it is. They love to use those virtues against us. And so that results in a massive emotional toll that we end up carrying, doesn't it? And it feels often, because it very much is, our kindness being taken advantage of, our forgiveness being taken advantage of. I can almost guarantee that if your in-laws like to talk about forgiveness and how you need to forgive, that even if they are not Catholic, even if they're not Christian, they will find that scripture and they will use it against you. They weaponize Scripture against you because they know that in their mind, that is a weakness. Oh, well, I can do whatever I want and get away with it because I can remind them that they are called to forgive. They are supposed to forgive 70 times, 7 times. But does that actually mean that we are being a good Catholic if we are a doormat for our in-laws? No, it does not. In my opinion, if we are a doormat daughter-in-law for our in-laws, it means that we are not showing them true Christian charity and love because we are enabling them to do abusive and toxic things. Now, the last reason I want to focus on that might be a little bit harsh, but again, these are my opinions and this is just my viewpoint, but I believe that Satan uses toxic people as distractions. Now, I am not an expert on demonic activity, on demonic possessions. I am not an expert on any of those topics, but I do know a little bit. And I know that our enemy knows that this stressful relationship that we have with our in-laws pulls our focus away from God. When we are constantly managing toxic relationships and trying to keep the peace and trying not to rock the boat and trying to keep everybody happy, we have less energy for prayer and for spiritual growth. And it distracts us from the things that are our vocation as wives and or mothers. If we are spending hours replaying hurtful comments in our heads over and over again from our in-laws, instead of being present with our husband and our children, or even just spending time alone in prayer, that is where Satan can take control. That is where he gets the upper hand because we're so focused on this toxic relationship that there's nothing left to give to God. There is, and it's very clear in scriptures, a spiritual battle that is going on. And Satan works through ordinary people and situations to derail our peace and to derail our faith. When your peace is gone, our witness for Christ suffers. This is probably something that very few people actually talk about because it does feel a little woo, it does feel a little kind of out there, and I don't want to give Satan any more credit than he is due. But I do know that he wants to divide our families. And sometimes, here's a different perspective on this. Sometimes our in-laws will say that we are allowing Satan to divide the larger extended family. We've had that thrown in our faces, that we are allowing Satan to divide the family. When actually, it really seems like he is using our in-laws to try to break up our marriage, to break up our relationship with our children. So we need to be aware that, yes, there absolutely is a spiritual battle going on. There are spiritual forces at play in these relationships, and consider that because of this strife, because of the stress, because of the tension, we are so focused on all of this stuff that's causing us stress that our relationship with Christ is put on a back burner or completely shelved. We might start to believe that God is trying to punish us through this. We might start to believe a whole bunch of lies that God doesn't care about us, that we have done something to deserve this. And we have to keep in mind that Satan is, number one, an accuser. He loves to accuse us of things that maybe we've already been forgiven for. Maybe they aren't even things that are worthy of being accused of. But he loves to keep us focused on our faults, on our flaws, on our stressors, on these toxic things, instead of fixing our eyes on Jesus and trying to grow closer to him through prayer and through the sacraments. There is real pain and real suffering that we go through when we are navigating these relationships with our in-laws as we try to remain faithful to our faith. And I want you to remember that recognizing these patterns in our toxic in-laws is really the very first step towards peace. If you don't recognize the patterns, then it can be your fault. Then it can be punishment from God. Then it can be a number of things. Instead of realizing these are toxic patterns from a person who perhaps is not mentally well. And once you realize those patterns, that's when you can start to address what's going on and to reclaim a sense of peace. Now, your faithfulness is not a weakness. So please don't walk away from this episode thinking, well, it probably would be better if we just were not faithful Catholics or we just weren't, strong in our faith at all. No, that is absolutely not what I'm saying. Our faithfulness to the Catholic Church and her teachings is our strength. When we begin to see the patterns of toxicity in our in-laws clearly, that truly will begin your process of reclaiming this peace that you so very much desire. God bless you. Go in peace. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you've ever wondered just how toxic your relationship with your in-laws really is, I've got the perfect tool for you. Introducing the new free Toxic In-Laws Assessment, a self-graded quiz designed to help you identify the true level of toxicity in your relationship with your in-laws. Whether you're unsure if your in-laws are really that bad or you think they might be worse than you realize, this assessment will give you the clarity you need. Don't leave it to guesswork. Take the free Toxic In-Laws Assessment now and start your journey towards healthier and more peaceful family dynamics. Visit desiringpeace.com/quiz to get started. Disclaimer. All content and information on this podcast and our website, including our programs, products, and/or services, is for information and educational purposes only and does not constitute professional medical, psychiatric, or mental health advice of any kind, and does not establish any kind of professional-client relationship by your listening to this podcast or use of my website. A professional-client relationship with you is only formed after we have expressly entered into a written agreement with you that you have signed, including our fee structure and other terms to work with you in a specific matter. Although we strive to provide accurate general information, the information presented here is not a substitute for any kind of professional advice, and you should not rely solely on this information. Always consult a professional in the area for your particular needs and circumstances prior to making any professional, medical, or mental health related decisions.